Let's learn about the Great Barrier Reef. Now, where is the Great Barrier Reef? What is it? Well, it's located just off of the coast of Queensland, Australia, and it's a system of separate coral reefs in the Coral Sea. It has approximately 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands, probably even more. It is the largest reef system in the world. It can actually even be seen from space, and it's about 1,616 miles, or about 2,600 kilometers in length, which is about the size of 70 million football fields. So if you can imagine 70 million football fields laid out across next to Australia in the water, underwater, that's about the size of the Great Barrier Reef. Now, coral reefs, which of course make up the Great Barrier Reef, are complex structures that form over millions of years and grow very slowly, and they're made up of layers of limestone, which is also called calcium carbonate. And this is how they grow. So first, the baby coral or the larvae will attach to a rock or a hard surface, underwater, of course. Next, the baby coral turns into a coral polyp once it's attached, and it will excrete the calcium carbonate or the limestone. The more calcium carbonate that it releases, the more polyps can attach to that hard surface in that rock. So, right, you can imagine it's becoming bigger and bigger. And then finally, when the polyps die, they actually leave behind a hard exoskeleton, so the new polyps and baby coral can then attach onto that. So it's building upon itself and growing bigger and bigger. There are three types of reefs. The first one is called a fringe reef. Now, this type of reef grows around islands close to the edge in very shallow waters. Next is the barrier reef, right? So the Great Barrier Reef, this is a type of barrier reef. And while this also occurs around islands, it grows a little bit further out from the edge, from the shallow water. So if you imagine the fringe is so close up to the islands itself and to the land, the barrier reefs are happening a little bit further away from shore. And then finally, the atoll reefs, which these ones form around a volcanic island and then they submerge below the water. So it sometimes can look like a ring in the water. So let's talk about some characteristics and traits of the Great Barrier Reef. Let's start by talking about water, right? Because the Great Barrier Reef is in water. Well, the water actually holds a very steady temperature. Now, I know it won't sound this way when I say it, but I promise that it is. From 21 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius. So it kind of stays in a fairly warm and toasty, but sometimes medium temperature. And it's also really clear. So when you're looking at pictures of the Great Barrier Reef, either taken from high above or from up close, the water is so clear. And that's because there's not actually a lot of floating sediment that's near to the top and in the middle areas that is muddling up the view. So sediment is really resting towards the bottom and you're able to actually go and look right through the water. Next is the plant life. Now, you may think that there's a lot of plant life, but there's actually really a lot more animal life. But there are a couple of plants that are really important to the Great Barrier Reef. One is a type of algae called a crustose coralline, and this particular algae has a symbiotic relationship with the Great Barrier Reef. The other type of plant that also really thrives in the Great Barrier Reef are mangrove plants. And these are plants that really form in water and marine life. So you see them hanging down into the water, and this is where they grow, whereas many plants really thrive right in soil. And finally, animals. As I said, there's a ton of animal life in and around the Great Barrier Reef. For example, there's over 1,500 different types of fish. There could be so many more. There's also squid, octopus, sea turtles, whales, sharks, lots of animals on, around, and near the Barrier Reef. Finally, we can't talk about the Great Barrier Reef without talking about some threats to its existence. Like anything within the ecosystem, there are always threats and predators that can harm the life of something else. So there are 5 main ones. The first one is coral bleaching. Next is the ocean acidity. Next is the crown of thorn starfish. Next is the rising ocean temperature. And finally, tourism. Ultimately, it's something that we want to protect, so we maintain the plant and animal life there. Thank you for watching.